Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmasimi Morosi Rusmas Mordechai. Talking about I have here a very cute video of a kid, Eli Weinberg's kid, who doesn't speak yet, but he's trying to do Good Morning Rabbi Sai in baby language. Here it is. First time ever. Check this out. You got to hear this. Oh no. 1 minute. We'll wait for the coffee for a second. Okay, good. Oh, here we go. Oh no. Yeah, it's amazing. Here, how about some volume? Oh, by me it's not. It's my problem. Here we go. You ready? Here we go. It's 0 by me? That's also a problem. Okay, here we go. We got to go from the beginning. Here we go. Oh. Nochamal. It's a kid that doesn't speak. Some kids, the first words are Torah, Tziva, Lona, Moshe. Some kids are here. Umi. Okay. Shlomi Gwerstein sent this to me. His mother took a picture of his brother. You can see, actually, it says not posed. He's in his hospital bed going through the procedures that he goes through. This, Rabbi said, don't put it on the screen. Thank you. All right. This is the letter I was talking about. I'm going to read this. It's in Hebrew. And Yosef, you have to erase. You're going to have to take it off the thing. Okay. He wrote it in Hebrew because he doesn't want me to read it to the Olam, but that's not going to stop me. I asked him permission and I convinced him. It was hard for me to convince, so I have to take out some parts here just to hide his identity, but it was a very emotional email for me. He says, I want to tell you a little bit about my history. I grew up in Yerushalayim, went to a really religious cheder. Over there I went to Yeshiva Tana and a few little yeshivas, and then basically he left Yiddishkeit. Somehow he went to a certain yeshiva, and the siyadta dishmaya came back to Yiddishkeit, and he got married and he has children. He tried a number of times to learn different things. Sometimes they were more successful than others, but he never kept with any of the programs, and it didn't develop by him a kvius. Now, differently than a lot of the letters that you read, I can't tell you that that I haven't opened up a sefer since I left yeshiva, because when I was in yeshiva, I never opened up a sefer. The few times that I did learn, I didn't really connect to complicated sugyas, and I preferred to learn Shulchan Aruch and Mishnah Berurah. So yes, I did finish a few masechtas, but it was very difficult for me, and without a lot of cheshek. How do you say cheshek in English? Cheshek. No, he's right. Cheshek is the best way to say it. Okay, so I'm at least a half a year into this. I haven't missed many days at all. And not only that, I do chazar on the daf as well. I want you to know that the amount of dapim that I learned by you in the last half a year is more than everything I ever learned in my entire life. And it's not just that. My entire day changed. Tefillah, b'minyan, wasn't really something that had whatever the word is. Okay. But today, he says, today is the record. And this, I think everybody can relate to. And every time I read this line, I choked up. To get up on a vacation, in a hotel, when everybody's still sleeping, to learn a daf Gemara, that never happened in the history. So therefore, he goes on, Shkoyach, thank you, I appreciate what you do, I can stick in whatever I want here, but I won't. I don't want you to read this to the tzibur, it's for you privately. Hashem should pay you back double, Yishkoyach, whoever you are. Beautiful, to me that was it was written beautifully. Chaval, I couldn't read it in Hebrew to the Ilam, but that's that. All right, today, We're Shalom Aleichem. We have some seats here for Doyle, no? Here. We have at least 2 seats over here. What do we have? Huh? Easy. Shalom Aleichem. I know we'll be able to get him to the front. Wow. How'd you get him up the stairs? Kol kavod. Wow. What a simcha. Who do we have here? Who are all you? I see a lot of guys here. I'll come. We'll give share from there. No, come. You could get him in here. Just make some room here. You can sit next to me. Meanwhile, I'll say the sponsorships. All of you come up here and tell me who you are. The Koil sponsored for the hatzlacha for all of MDY. Parnasah chodesh Eli Stefansky, Shimon הכהן, וואלערשטיין, Lzecher by his kids. By Ahron Fraiman, Lzchus, continue parnasah, siyadta, dishmaya, hatzlacha, the rebelli, yesher for renewing. Shalom aleichem, tzaddik, v'setzach. Hello, how you doing? No, you excited to be here finally? I just roll. Okay, how are we gonna do this? Yeah, we gotta push that table a little bit. He's good. His feet are good. Okay, gewaldig. All right, come back a little bit. What else do we have here? Shalom Aleichem. What's your name, Tzaddik? Volvi Weiss. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. What's your name? Shalom Aleichem. Yehudah Jacob. Lakewood, another Lakewood here. What's your name in the back? It's really Weiss, brothers. And who's the guy next to you? What's going on here? From? What are you doing? What's all you? A whole minion. Wow, what a celebrity. Unbelievable. Lakewood, New Jersey. You're from Lakewood, right? So we're it's a record. Every day somebody from Lakewood. Unbelievable. All right, kol hakavod. How long have you been doing this year with me? 2 years. And you told me, tell me what you told me. That it's your dream to come to MDY. So your dream came true. You came on a plane, the whole trip, unbelievable. When did you arrive? Yesterday. What time? Did you go to the Kaisel yet? What? You didn't go to the Kaisel yet? That's the way it's supposed to be. All right. We're continuing on. You subscribe to the Fraiman. Parnasah chodesh. Boyer family. I was hoping that the Weinberg children will be here. They were supposed to be here today, maybe tomorrow. Okay. nishmat zechrya Avraham Eli Weinberg. Parnasah chodesh by the Lock and Lebovic families. Lakewood NJ because Torah is the best segulah. Lakewood. Parnasah chodesh nishmat zechrya bas Yosef. Today's shiur sponsored by Yehudah, Yidy, Schwartz, Lzecher, nishmat Sor bracha dvara bas Reb Chaim R Eli your side Lzchus Siva by Lisa Bond in honor of my dear husband Glenn for our 33rd anniversary. It's always amazes me when women tune in and they realize what their husbands want. Got him a gift, a sponsorship in the shiur. Glenn must be a big daffer. Effy Zweeigenhaft. L'nishmas Mar Shendel Reitzo Aleh Shalom Bas Kvoy Gdishas Admor Mar Ben Zion Halberstam Zech Tzadim Kosh Levrocha Hashem Yinkim Damoy. The Baba Rebbe, Dr. Mark Berkson, in honor of the fellow MDY member Ari Grandchow. Thanks so much for learning Gemara with me. Rufu Shlema Lisa Leah Bat Mazel Tov Hatzlacha with the family in honor of Hill Boyer for his dedication to MDY and his clients at HD Autos. Today is the 45th day in the Omer. Rabbi Sai, here we go. Today's Daf Pehei, and we're holding by Gufa. Pedalet Amud Beis. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 lines in the bottom. Gufa Marav, Yudah Marav. This is something we learned yesterday. We're going to go into it a little bit. Lo Yehuzaru Ksherois Lihinose Lipsulim. A kohenes doesn't have an isser to marry a chalal. Okay? The chalal has a problem, she doesn't have a problem. Says the Gemara, perhaps we could bring a raya from our Mishnah. The Gemara says it's not a good raya. What's the raya from our Mishnah? It says in the Mishnah, chalal shenasak ksheira. A chalal, that's what we're talking about. Shenasak ksheira. Now what does ksheira mean? We could try to force it and say that ksheira means a kohenes. That's exactly what we're talking about, our case. Kohenes doesn't have a problem getting married to him. Chalal shenasak ksheira. My love kohenes. Haru Eli. Umay ksheira. Ksheira lekahuna. Ksheira means that she's kosher lekahuna, and memela, you see, there's no problem. Now look at Rashi for a second. Mike ksheira lekahuna. I don't know where it is, but you'll find it 1/3 from the bottom. Mike ksheira lekahuna. The kaimelon kohen calls man shemoitze lisa bas kohen lo yisa bas Yisrael. You hear this? Tremendous chiddush. A kohen, if he can marry a kohenes, he should not marry a Yisraelis. And a kohenes shouldn't marry a Yisrael unless he's a Talmud Chacham. So somebody asked the Stipler once, am I allowed to marry a kohenes? I'm a yeshiva guy in yeshiva, I'm not a Talmud Chacham. So Stipler told him, you have a bigger chance of being a Talmud Chacham than that guy has a chance of being a Kohen. What does it mean? There's a lot of times, and we just learned it, and it became a little bit more clear to me when we learned it, when my friend told me why he's a Chalal, that his mother's a Baal Shtruva, and in college, whatever they did then, just being with a guy one time makes all her children Chalalim no longer Kohanim. So who knows in previous generations what happened and who was where from. Unless you have, you're Rabbi Schoenberg, of course, and he's like, not me, my family, we have you ever saw his stuff in our newsletter? That's what it's called? Or Merkaz. I'm just kidding, of course. Or Merkaz, every week, Rabbi Schoenberg. So he probably has Ksav Yichus going back to Aaron HaKohen himself. But a regular Kohen doesn't know. My father was this, was that. I don't know what happened. And therefore, that's the Stipler. So don't worry about it. He says, in our generation, you're a bigger Talmud Chacham than she's a kohenes. You don't like that, Rabbi Schoenberg, huh? You said it. Maybe you're saying you didn't say it. Okay. Mike Sheikh Shelkuno Israel says the Gemara, no, lie. Yisraelis. No, from our mission, not a riot. Perhaps a kohenes who marries a chalal, it'd be aser. We're talking about Israelis. So then what does the word kosher mean? Ksher l'kal. She can marry any Yisrael. She's ksher l'kal. Iachi yesh liach kosher. So let's try to prove it. Let's try to force it a little bit. It says in the Mishnah, if he has a brother who's kosher, nami kosher l'kal. So l'chayr, the word kosher, you tell me kosher means that it can marry into Klal Yisrael. Mikladu puzzle. If this person has a brother that could marry in, he himself cannot marry in. Oh, that can't be. Why? Because she married him, and she's mutter to marry him. So obviously, the brother is mutter l'kahal. You can't say one brother is mutter l'kahal and the other brother is not mutter l'kahal. Then how did she marry that guy that's not mutter l'kahal? Lav kohen. The brother is kosher l'kuhuna. We do kohen kohenes. So now we want to prove. If he's a kohen, then if the man is a kohen, then she's a kohenes. Midi area. What are you talking about? It's a shidduch. He happens to be a kohen. She happens to be Israelis. We can't force it. We can't prove it from our Mishnah. Just because he's a kohen doesn't mean she's a kohenes. We have no raya that a kohenes is allowed to marry a chala. Masa Rav and Bar Nachman lo yikachu lo yikachu. Check out the pasuk over here in Vayikra. One time. The Gemara's question is, why does it have to say twice? It should say all at the end. Why does it stick in in the middle? So, Lzecher, it says here in the pasuk that even a kohenes, just like the ish, the kohen can't get married, the woman, the kohenes, cannot marry a chalal. Lo yikchu, lo yikachu. Amarava, no. Pshat in the pasuk is, Kol heicha dehu muzar, hi muzeres. If she herself is a problematic person, she's a grusha, problematic for him. She's a grusha and he is shamalaychim yazi haistir. So why? So we said already. Okay, so you're learning. I thought you just part of the entourage. The entourage learns too. You got these guys? Free Gemaras, the whole thing? Only the best guys. Only guys that do the daf work here. Okay, Givaldik. So, the pasuk is saying as follows. If the woman is a grusha, the kohen is not allowed to marry her. What about her? She's a grusha. Is she allowed to participate in that marriage? And the answer is no. By her letting herself get married to this kohen, she's over on the Isser. But we're not talking about our case. We wanted to say something about our case. That she's a kshera and he's a chalal. No, she's a grusha and an almana who the kohen gadol wants to marry. That's the problem. But in our case, she has no Isser. Okay, so now you're telling me, we just said a second ago that this pasuk on the screen, lo yikachu, is how we learn that she's aser, that she has an Isser. She's like a man. The extra lo yikachu. V'avaha, v'amahacha nafka. Midrav Yehudah amarav nafka. So you're learning chalal takayin from lo yikachu. We have another pasuk. Rabbi Yehudah amarav nafka. Don't Rabbi Yehudah amarav, v'chin tona debate. Rabbi Shmuel, ish oy isha. Now listen to this. Very interesting. Last night, I was doing Shnai Mikra. I'm not crying. Got something stuck in my head. Seriously. I was doing Shnai Mikra, and I said, you know what? Let me do one more aliyah. I'm very happy I did one more aliyah, because that aliyah has this pasuk right here. I found it in that aliyah. So it's this week's parasha. And it's interesting. Well, a lot of times we learn these things, we learn these halachas. This Shabbos, you're going to be sitting in shul here in Eretz Yisrael, and next Shabbos in America. Yeah, when did they catch up?
Like 12 years.
12. We just read this pasuk in Shlishi. The question is like, when the Balkari reads it, do we like pay attention? Oh, we just learned even this week. We're going to read it in 3-4 days. Okay, what does it say in the pasuk? It's in Shlishi. I'm giving you a hint in Shlishi. Check it out. Oh. No, I don't need to, because it's in the. I don't have the pasuk if it's written mifurish in the Gemara. It's only when it's not mifurish in the Gemara. Which one?
The one on the screen.
The one on the screen. Okay. Gary does fakert. We tell him to put it on, he takes it off. We're on a different pasuk, tzaddik. Yishkoyach. Isha yisho kiyasim kol chatay sa'adam. Hishva akasav isha li'ish. L'chol anshim sh'atari. This is a general. Many times the Gemara brings this particular pasuk. We learn from this pasuk, the Torah says both, man and a woman in the same pasuk, chatas ha'adam, that a man and a woman, equal rights. They both are also in all the averis in the Torah. So then why do I need the pasuk of lo yikachu? Says the Gemara, lav hashava b'kol. That's a general pasuk of chatas ha'adam. Ava lav she'en hashava b'kol. Something that's specific only to kohanim. Perhaps a woman is not chayven. So that's why loy. That's why I need the pasuk loy kach. Top of pei hey. That's today's daf. We're mamish not moving. Varei tuma the lav shein shava bakol. Tuma. Now you can see this pasuk. It's still on the screen with dafka. And Mara kohanim. It says what? Okay. You mean it's always going to show all the way to the next sugya? Okay. I thought it goes off or something. You see all the way at the end of the pasuk, it talks about Tumah. Who's this pasuk referring to? Chayanim. Only Chayanim. So, that's a lav shein shav bakol. It's a lav that's only to Chayanim. And the Gemara is medayik. Because of Rachmana b'nei Aaron in green, it says the sons of Aaron. The pasuk is referring only to the men. But without that, I would say that women are chayiv even though it's a lav she'ein shava bakol. Right? We just said a lav she'ein shava bakol, women would not be chayiv. But over here in the pasuk it seems like they would be chayiv. I just have a special dig, they're not. My time, alam mishum de Rav Yehudah amarav. Isn't it because of Rav Yehudah Marav, the pasuk of Isha we just mentioned before? Loi. So first you have, says the Gemara now, first you have the pasuk of Ish, that women and men are chayiv in everything. Then you have the pasuk Lo Yikachu to exclude Lav Shein Shova Bakal. Once you have that exclusion of Lav Shein Shova Bakal, then I'll think that they are chayiv because Lo Yikachu. Comes the pasuk Bnei Aaron that they're not chayiv. Iked what do I need two psukim? Lo Yikachu and Isha that men and women are chayiv in everything. Women are chayiv in everything. Says Gemara, I would think just like by Tumah it says Bnei Aaron and women are potter. So anything that's a lav shein shobakol, women should be potter. Kamash malon that they're chayiv. Says the Gemara story, Rav Papa, Rav Huna Bereder Yishoy Ikalu Lehintzevu or Shachnitziv, wherever it was. Last with the Rav Eli Baravin. They went to Rav Eli Baravin's place. And they asked him our question from the Gemara earlier. Who's a ruksheres linasel psulim Eli? Question: if a kohenes is permitted to marry somebody who's possible to a chalal, does she have an iser? I'll prove it to you from a famous Mishnah in Kedushin. Asar Yuchsin. Yeah, everybody knows the parah. Asar Yuchsin. Might have not learned it, but you've seen it. Asar Yuchsu alu mibavel. Ezra made aliyah with most of Klal Yisrael. And he tried to protect Klal Yisrael. He didn't want the mamzerim to stick around in Bavel. He could have had a nice trip. He's going to bring everybody to Eretz Yisrael, leave the mamzerim behind, and Shalom Yisrael. The problem is, there's a lot of trouble with that. The mamzerim have nobody to protect them, or to protect us from them, because all the good guys, all the gdolim and everything, they went to Eretz Yisrael. So he says, no, you guys have to come with us. We want you. Okay, and then we could deal with you. And he made different classes, different categories of people. Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim. First, these are all the people, these are all the classes, and then we're going to discuss how they fit in. Very, very simple stuff. Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim, Chalolim, Gerim, V'charurim. Charum means slaves that are free. Mamzerim, Nesinim. We know what Nesinim are. Shtuki, Ba'asufi. Shtuki is a child, we don't know who the father is. Asufi is that kid that they left by my door on Pesach night. That's Sufi. Says, and now it explains. Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim, that's one category. Regular Yidden. Kohanim, Levim, Yisraelim, Mutar Lava Zebazeh. Over here it says a kohen can marry Yisraelis, it's not a problem. It's better that Talmid Chacham, better this. Rashi brings, I didn't finish off, but Rashi says, Sudas Arushos. If a kohen marries a Yisraelis, then his wedding is a Sudas Arushos, it's not a Sudas Mitzvah. Okay, that's the sugi over there in Pesachim. It's not such a great thing. We don't even care about it, right? Everybody marries each other, it's not a big deal. Rabbi Schomburg, you're makbid on it, B'chlal? You have any of your children that married Kohenes? They were makbid. You're already modern, you don't care. You're in Sadayers. Levim Yisraelim Chalolim. You hear this? Now we took out the Kohanim. Kohanim are not in this category, but a Levi, a Yisrael, and a Chalal could get married. Gerim, we know we're allowed to marry Gerim. Charurim, freed slaves. Mutarim, Laviz Abizeh. So if we stop right over here, Chalalim, it's mashma that a Kohenes is also in this category. In other words, a Kohenes is not allowed to marry a Chalal. She's not brought in here. She's left out of this category. Only a Levi or Yisrael can marry a Chalal. It doesn't mention anything about a Kohenes. Isn't that what we're talking about? That's Rav Papa's Raya. Because it seems if a Kohenes would be able to marry a Chalal, it should say, a Kohenes, Levim, Yisrael, and Chalal. So what's the obvious answer to that? The Gemara is going to say, well, it's not the men also. We're saying men and women who can marry each other. We don't want to talk about half of a category, just the women. That's why it doesn't say it. But maybe women, Kohenes, woman could marry a Chalal. Levim, Yisrael, Chalal, Gerim, Charurim, Mutarim, Laviz Abizeh. Next category. Geirei, Charurei, the freed slaves and the Gerim, Umamzeirei, Nesine, Shtuke, Asuv, Mutarim, Laviz Abizeh. They're all allowed to marry each other. Okay, that's the final category. Now the Gemara goes to the Raya, doesn't say anything about a woman kohen who can marry a chol, it's not in the category. So you see that she's also. Only Rav Yeshua. No, not a good raya. When the man can marry the woman and the woman can marry the man. In other words, a kohen can marry a chalala. And a kohen is, so it says it. If it's only half, just the women can marry a chal, it's not a category that we're going to talk about. Kohen given the ilu boiler mitzvah chalala asir, but the man cannot marry a chalala, like a tani, even though the woman could perhaps marry a chalal. So again, we have the question, what is the halacha? Could a kohen nes marry a chalal? Also, the Ravidi Barav and Omar Lu, Dardike, you're a bunch of children. You don't know how to learn. Hachi Omar Rav, Yehudah Omar Rav, Lehuza Ruksherois, Li Nasei Lipsulim. Mefurish Rav, who says that a kohenes could marry a chalal. Why don't you know this? You must be dardike, you must be children. You should have known this. Shniyos medivrei soifrim. So we had this yesterday. Just to go through it quickly on the screen. We have grandparents who had a daughter. And that daughter married the plumber from Muncie, and he also had another wife. And then the plumber had two sons, the two Baldwin brothers, who are both not here today. Usually they are. I don't know, where's Avi? Some different country probably. England. Noam is watching from home. That I know, he told me this morning. Hi Noam, shkaya for coming. Yesterday also he wasn't here. So now, but the two Baldwin brothers are brothers, real brothers from the father. They're Yibum brothers. They just have different mothers. Now, what is crazy, and everybody gave me a hard time as they give me these faces, Reuven goes ahead and marries his grandmother, which Midoraisa, all you guys, if you didn't hear the daf yesterday, Midoraisa, you're allowed to marry your grandmother. Now, somebody might ask, which people asked with their eyes yesterday, why in the world is this guy, what is this guy's Meshuggah? He's marrying his grandmother. So I want to go out, I want to tell you that the story could be a little different. The story could be that it's not even his grandmother, it's his grandfather's wife. You see here, in this case, it's the same case, but it's not his own grandmother. And she's not 90 years old. She's 30 years old. This makes a lot more sense now. It's grandfather. There's a famous joke. I said this a little while ago, but I'll say it again because we have some new guys. This guy, most of you guys are new. You didn't hear this one. This 80-year-old married a 30-year-old woman. So one of his friends went over him and said, I don't understand, how did you convince her? What did you tell her? You told her you're like 60? What did you do? He says, no, I told her I'm 90. You like that? Get over here, Dr. Epstein. Get over here. Come here. I'm going to come to you, Doc. Rabbi said, Dr. Epstein's looking for shidduch. He's 90 years old, he said. He's a wealthy doctor. He did well in life. He has a house in America. He has a house in Israel, and he's 90 years old. Looking for shidduch. You're Valdik. I love it. Okay. I hope done. Okay, fine. We just had these Bnei Beirei. I think there was a mamzer there or something a few days ago in Beirei. The people from Beirei asked Rav Sheshes, Shniya Labal, Veloy Shniya Layavam, Yesh Leksuvam Yavam Eloi. So this is the case. Reuven is related to his grandmother. He's not allowed to marry his grandmother midrabanan. That's called a shniya midivrei soifrim. But his own brother from the father is allowed to marry his grandmother because Levi is not related to Reuven's grandmother. He has a different mother. Question is, now that Reuven goes bye-bye, he goes sideways, is she entitled to a ksuba from Levi? So again, grandmother all the way on the top. It says Mayan all the way on the top. She marries Levi. You see the red line? She marries Levi. Does Levi have to give her a ksuba? She doesn't get a ksuba from Reuven. There's a penalty there. There's a knas. We don't want grandmothers to marry their grandchildren. But maybe the Yavam is chayiv in ksuba. What's the question? Because we learned, and this we had in the beginning of Masechta, who, again, this whole parak, Taisus says, the chazara on the Masechta a little bit. We're going to find different halachas that we already learned. We learned that the ksuva is the responsibility of the original husband. less law, and the original husband, she got penalized and she doesn't get a ksuba for him. That we also learned, if the guy doesn't have any money, the second guy has to step in. Islam, maybe in this case, she does have, which is an interesting shayla. We learned, it says mufurish, it's the first husband's responsibility. And if she is usher to marry the first one, so we don't do a chayte niskar. We don't say, oh, she doesn't get a ksuba, but let her go to the second guy and get a ksuba. She doesn't get a ksuba and finished. The Gemara just talks about the lashon here. Miklauda ikid islam yavam says afilu. So it seems like there is a case where she would get a ksuba from the yavam. Which one is it? Says Gemara, okay, yeah, it's pashut, but we just have to insert words, or we thought you could figure it out yourself. That what? Typically a woman gets her ksuba from the first husband. And if he doesn't have, the second guy has to give. That's a typical halacha. However, but if there's an isser going on here, it's the grandmother, then she doesn't even get from the yavam. By the way, I always had a difficulty with it. I'm still not 100% sure what the pshat is. The yavam always inherits all of his brothers' nechasim, even if there's other brothers. One of the things he gains is, so he has to take that money and give her a ksuba. So what's the difference if she takes it from the first guy? Never really got that. Okay, next. We were talking about this, right? The shnia, this marrying a grandmother, you lose everything. You lose your nursing home. We said the tzoyim barzel. She comes in with a nursing home into the marriage. She loses it. It's one of the penalties. She doesn't have a ksuba. That's ksuba. She doesn't have mezayna. She doesn't have blois. Nothing. But what about an almanata kohen gadol who does get a ksuba? And we're going to discuss why. Why does a almanata kohen gadol get a ksuba, but marrying a grandmother you don't get a ksuba? That's the raisa. A little different. So. But the question is, since she gets a ksuba, does she get mezaynis? Hey chidami, what's the question? Eli the Yosef to say, if she's still married to him, he's mechuyev to divorce her. Why should she get any mezaynis? Why should she get support? Mezaynis is law. So it's talking about shalach hu l'medinas hayam. So they can't even get divorced. He ran away, right? He's the kohen. Think about it. He's the kohen gadol. It's like it's a controversy. Everybody chapped. Our kohen gadol, he married an almana, so he takes the next flight. He's out of there. He booked and he leaves her there in aguna. So she had to go and borrow v'achla. So does he have to pay it? Mezaynet like ksuba, it's part of the ksuba. I mean, this ksuba is the mezaynet. It's part of the ksuba, so she does deserve it. Ksuba de la mishkalu meipak isla. Ksuba she gets mezaynet dilma te'akiv gabei lesla. But mezaynes, since she'll stick around if she gets support, why would she want to get divorced? So we want to encourage her to get divorced and force her husband to divorce her, so we won't give her any support. Amalei, lesla, she doesn't get. Votanya yeshla. You're telling me she doesn't get support, but it says mefurish in a brayso she does. Kitanya lachar misa. He died. And in the ksuba it says, I'm going to support you after I die. And what's the concern? We want them to get divorced. And we want to force her to get divorced by not giving her support. He's already dead. There's nothing to worry about. So she gets mezaynas. Is the Amri Omar Leis, Rabbi tells him, Tanya Yeshla. It says that she does have. He said Lesla. I'm telling you, there's a bride that says Yeshla. Says the Gemara, he asked him, but how could she have mezaynas? He must divorce her. Velo Tanya Yeshla. Kitanya yi lachar misa. Torah banan. Almanah l'kayin gal the grusha v'chalutz l'kayin nedet yesh l'ksuba. She has ksuba, meaning even if she brings in a nursing home, tzayim barzel, she gets everything back. Peiros means nifsei milog. Very interesting halacha that if she comes into the marriage with a nursing home, but she says it's not tzayim barzel, it's not metal. You don't pay me the price that I came into the marriage. You just benefit from the peiros because you're going to redeem me, so you get all the peiros, you get all the benefits. But at the end of the day, it's mine. So he has to pay her all the peiros. All the checks he got all those years, he has to pay her. Mezaynos, he has to pay her support after he dies, we just established. It means after he dies. Belois. It was funny because I brought that the beautiful iPad. It's amazing. Like a $2,500 gift that Aaron Hirsch gave me. Crazy. So no, it's just also the thought that he put in and he worked on it to get the logo. So I bring it to the Kyle. So the Belzer comes over to me and goes, I don't understand. They gave you a used cover. I said, no, it's part of it's the shtick. It's called worn out leather. I said, like your jeans. I figured he never saw those jeans. He's like, what do you mean the jeans? I said, jeans it's cool today. You buy worn out jeans. It's in style. So he says, now I chap the word blois. I was always wondering my whole life, why are they fighting over torn clothing? Oh, you're saying it costs more, geschmack. Oh, now I chap. Okay. Blois, worn out clothing. What are they fighting about? The Belzer understands it. Vihi psula, uvlada apostle. But the Salman al-Kain Gadol, you should know, she becomes apostle and her children are apostle forever. And they force him to give her a divorce. She the grandmother, she has nothing. We give her a knas like you can't even believe. It could be that we take away her nursing home. But her child is kosher, but we forced a divorce. Amar Reb Shimon ben Elazar says Rashba. Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Now we have to understand. But why? Why is it that she deserves a ksuba? And when you marry a grandmother, she doesn't deserve a ksuba. Says the Gemara of Neshu Pasol v'Psula. And Rashi says very interesting thing. She's Pasol, and when you marry a woman like that, he has to swear that I'll have no benefit from her. V'Psula. And any time that he's Pasol and she's Pasol, Amud Beis, Kansu Oisai, Ksuba. Explains Rashi why he has to give a ksuba. Because we want them to fight. Over here, we don't have to give her a penalty. We have to give him a penalty. And we want them to, because they fight so much, and they keep on saying, he keeps on looking at her and said, look what you did to me. I shouldn't have married you. Anytime he gets upset, he goes, I shouldn't have married you. Now I'm puzzled, I can't do avodah, da. So there's no concern. He's going to divorce her anyways. So there's no reason to give her a penalty. We just turned, listen to this one, sponsored by Moshe Horn, in honor of Hillbilly Hillel Bill Zand. Hillbilly Hillel Bill Zand. Sponsored in honor of Eli for the countless lives, blah, 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 blah. Shkoyach. Huh? Balaam has to remember that. Hillbill, not Hillbilly. Hillbill, Hillel Zand. Oh, Hillbilly, okay. In honor of the Hillbilly. It always rhymes. He's running out of friends, this guy. And if you are his friend, you're not his friend anymore, you're running. You don't know, you're going to be posted up there again on the base. Okay. So how come the grandmother, you marry grandmother, she loses everything? Because at the end of the day, nothing happened to their status. And there's no fighting going on. He's not saying, oh, because of you, I'm a no good Yisrael. Nothing happened to him. There's no fighting, so then she gets a penalty. Rebbe Omer halalu divrei Torah comes Rebbe and says no. A grushan almana is divrei Torah. With divrei Torah and strichim chizuk, we always have this that if it's the Daraisa, people say, oh, it's in the Torah, I'm not going to do it. It's only the Rabbanan, it's a little muktzah, not a big deal. Shniyos is the Rabbanan. But the Risayim strichim chizuk, we don't want people marrying their grandmothers or their grandfather's wives, so we added an extra penalty. Davar acher doesn't mean a pig, it means another pshat. Davar acher, ze margila, v'zui margila. When, put it in the thing. So, when it comes to Grushan and Almana, that she becomes apostle, the children are apostle, then he's the one doing all the convincing that they should get married. Therefore, the penalties on him, he has to pay ksuva. When nothing happens to her, Then Rashi says, and you know what? Look at Rashi. You have to see this inside. You're not going to believe me. Well, it's famous Gemara, Tavla Mesav Tandum and Mesav Armelu. But Rashi says, Zehu Margila. Look all the way at the end. Sha'isha roitza linase yoiser minoyish. Typically speaking, physically speaking, a woman wants to get married more than the man wants to get married. Seth, you can tell you're yeah. Sha'isha roitza linase. I don't even want to get married. You want to get married. Fine. So Memela, she's the one doing the convincing. She's the one doing the grandmother's doing all the convincing. She loses her ksuba. Remember, Yevamos Daf Pei. Who said it? So we have machlokes who said it. We had two shittas. The first pshat that we said, and he's explaining himself. He's just explaining that it's because he's the one that did the convincing. It goes by the convincing. Because she did the convincing. Whoever convinced the marriage gets the penalty. Some say no, it was Rebbe. Again, Rebbe was the one that said that there's a difference between different Torah and Seifrim. You have to do a chizuk for Dairaisa. So he says, the chalutza kakashil. I had a question on a chalutza. Look at the pasuk for a second. Seems like a kohen is not allowed to marry a chalutza. It's mufurish in the pasuk, says Rashi. This pasuk, you're right. We brought this pasuk. It's only in a smach that's the Rabbanan pasuk. But since it's v'chalutza the Rabbanan, this laksuba. My svara is, anytime it's Dairaisa, there's a ksuba. The Rabbanan, you lose a ksuba. Over here, a chalutza gets a ksuba. Doesn't fit in. And then he explained, even the pasal law, with the Rabbanan, Zeu Margila, V'zu Hi Margila. Since she loses out from Truma, so Memela, that's why she gets a ksuba, because he's the one doing the convincing. Ma'ike ben Rebbe Reb Shimon ben Elazar, the pshat of Rebbe that said that Divrei Torah need chizuk, Reb Shimon ben Elazar. So Rabbi I did a quick chart here. We could do the sugya in 10 seconds. It's the simplest sugya ever. The Gemara is going to bring 5 things that are identical, and it's just going to go from one thing to the other because each thing has a little bit of a problem. But what you see in this chart is a mamzeres. To marry a mamzeres, you're over Issa Deraisa. To marry a machzik rushasai, when you divorce your wife and she marries somebody else and you take her back, it's Issa Deraisa. Bu'ula l'kohen gadol, Issa Deraisa for the kohen gadol to marry somebody that doesn't have psulim. A suffix saita, there's an Issa Deraisa to be with your wife if you have a doubt and you were master her not to be with somebody and she went in. And a valid saita, certainly you're not allowed to be with her. So all these 5 things, Dairaisas. So what does Rebbe hold in a Dairaisa? Dairaisa Rebbe holds, she gets a ksuba. Check. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says, in all these things you don't get a ksuba. Why? Because it's a svara that she was the one convincing. In all these cases, she had nothing to lose, and Memela, she did the convincing. She does the convincing, she loses her ksuba. So now I'm going to ask you, what is the difference between Rebbe and Reb Shimon ben Elazar in all these 5 cases? Bahavamina, according to Rebbe, you get a ksuba, and according to Reb Shimon ben Elazar, you don't get a ksuba. Just the Gemara knocks off the first 4, and the Gemara is left with the last one called Avadi Saita. Let's see inside. That's Issa Deraisa. Mando Amar Deraisa, according to Rebbe, that the Deraisa Nami Deraisa, and she gets a ksuba. Mando Amneshu Margila, ha, he Margila lay. In this case, she's convincing him. Right? Because she has nothing to lose to marry Yisrael. It's great for her to marry Yisrael. Her entire life in high school, everybody called her Mamzeres. Mamzeres. Now she's marrying a regular guy. Gishmak. Her kids will never become kosher. There's a way. With Reb Tarfon, there's a way she'll sell off her children as slaves. She'll do a deal with the guy. Tomorrow, then after 5 minutes, he'll release them. And there'll be mutat l'kuna. She has nothing to lose marrying Yisrael. It's Gishmak Gishindel. So we have to penalize her. But Rebbe Eliezer doesn't say they have a way out. And if they don't have a way out, this is problematic for her. So she's not convincing him. And there's always a fight. So we have to go to the next one. The difference is between the two, if you return your wife, she gets a ksuba because you don't need chizuk for the raisa. She's convincing him, she has nothing to lose in this case. There's no zoina, there's no Rashi goes into the whole thing. She doesn't lose anything. Oh, you lose a lot because even it's an isser doiraisa to remarry your ex-wife after she marries somebody else, and therefore the future children are mamzerim, so she gains nothing. She doesn't want to. So who did all the convincing? You did. You should lose the ksuba. There's no way she wants to get into this marriage. Papa, the next one. Bula l'kohen gadol, as we learned yesterday. Where's that pasuk here? Ki im psula miyama v'yikach. There's an assay, an isser assay to marry a non-psula. She's the one convincing him. She wants to get married more than him. Anytime it's equal, that she has nothing to lose, she's the one doing the convincing because of Rashi that says that a woman wants to get married more than the man. Okay, it's green, it's psula yikach, it's an assay, but nevertheless, it creates a mamzer. There's no way she's convincing that the kohen gadol to marry her. She doesn't want mamzerim. Yisrael tells his wife, don't be with somebody else. She doesn't listen. So he takes her to the Beis HaMikdash. Before he takes her, he's not allowed to be with her because she's a suffix whether or not she was mizana. Madam with the Raisa, not with the Raisa. It says the Raisa, male, she still gets a ksuba according to Rebbe. Madam she margila. Ha, he margila. Masio ben Charash, Dava afilu halach bayla ashkoisa. Ubala b'derech asa zoyna. But if she has everything to lose because she became a zoyna on the way, she doesn't want to be a zoyna. She can't marry another kohen afterwards. Finally, soita vada yikebeinayu. So 100% that she's a soita, and that, according to Rebbe, she gets a ksuba. According to Reb Shimon Lazar, she doesn't get a ksuba. Have a wonderful day.